We're not doing birthdays for kids this year. Finances are tight. I accepted it. That weekend, I scrolled and saw my sister's son's party. Clowns, a magician, a bounce house. My daughter asked, "Why not me?" I reassured her, snapped a photo of their mortgage payment slip, and sent, "Return to sender." Within an hour, my dad was blowing up my phone. The first lie came in February. Mom called on a Thursday evening. I still remember because it was one of those slow, ordinary nights. The kind where you're just trying to finish the dishes before they start to smell. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. Just jumped right into it, using that dramatic tone she always pulls out when she's setting the stage for something she knows won't land well. "We're not doing birthdays for kids this year. Finances are tight." I said, "Okay, what else was I supposed to say?" We've always played by some unspoken rules in this family. Don't question too much. Don't make things awkward. And definitely don't act like you're owed anything. I assumed the money I'd been helping them with wasn't enough to keep them afloat. I didn't love the idea of Jessica's birthday being skipped over, but we'd get through it. We'd do something small at home. Pancakes, streamers, a movie night. She's an easy kid to make happy. But even while I told myself to be understanding, something didn't sit right. I've paid their mortgage more times than I can count. Brooke's car lease. I covered 3 months when she lost her job last year, and she never brought it up again. I've been the one fixing the cracks while they just act like the foundation is fine. That Saturday, Jessica was napping, and I was just scrolling. No plan, no suspicion, just mindless Instagram thumbing. And then I saw it. Ethan's birthday party. My sister's son. A full-blown production. Bounce house. Clowns. A magician. A food truck parked in their yard. People laughing. Drinks in hand. Confetti in the air. Brooke was there in the photos, too, smiling with her husband, posing like she hadn't told me 2 weeks ago that they were cutting back. I didn't even react right away. I just stared. Then I heard the tiny footsteps. Jessica climbed up beside me on the couch and looked at the screen. She squinted for a second, confused. Then came the quiet question, "Why not me?" I froze. I think that's when something broke. I put the phone down, told her we'd do something special, just us. Maybe go to the aquarium or beach. But my brain was buzzing. Not with sadness. Just this hard, growing sense of humiliation. I walked straight into my office and opened the drawer where I keep everything. Files, receipts, copies of payments I've made for my parents over the years. Found the most recent mortgage slip I paid. Took a picture. No explanation. No big speech. Just dropped it in the family group chat with one message. Return to sender. I walked away from the phone and sat back down with Jessica like nothing happened. 40 minutes later, my dad started calling. First once, then again, then rapid fire. 10 missed calls in under 20 minutes. I didn't answer. Mom tried next. Then Brooke. I watched the screen light up again and again while Jessica colored quietly beside me. Not a single one of them had the guts to text when they thought they were caught. They never thought I'd push back. But they made it clear Ethan was the golden one. My daughter was optional. They drew the line. I was just going to make sure they remembered where it was. By Sunday night, the group chat was a mess of deleted messages, unsent apologies, and attempts to make it all seem like a misunderstanding. I didn't say a word. I let them panic. Brooke finally texted some nonsense about how the party wasn't really planned, and how a friend of Jake's covered most of it. She actually said, "We weren't trying to exclude Jessica. It just kind of happened fast." That line stuck with me. It just kind of happened fast. Like forgetting about my daughter was just a clerical error. Like giving Ethan a full-blown circus while telling Jessica she couldn't have a cake was a scheduling issue. I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for an explanation. I just started pulling plugs. I'd spent years cleaning up behind them. Quiet transfers, bill payments, temporary help that somehow became permanent. I was the invisible support beam in a house that never acknowledged it needed one. And for what? So my kid could sit there wondering why no one remembered her. That night, I logged into my bank accounts and started making changes. The $1,530 mortgage transfer that went out every 15th. Cancelled. The $412 lease payment for Brooke's stupid Audi she couldn't afford. Stopped. Dad's insulin delivery? Still on his insurance. My insurance, technically. Paused. Mom's phone line, which I'd added to my family plan 5 years ago when she said she didn't want to deal with Verizon again. Disconnected. No warnings, no explanations, just silence. By Tuesday morning, I got my first ping. Mom, hey sweetheart, something's off with the mortgage. Can you check your bank? Ignored. Wednesday afternoon. Brooke, my bank called about the lease. Did you change something? Read. No response. By Thursday, Dad finally noticed the pharmacy stopped sending his meds. That one I did feel a pang about. He needs them. But then I remembered him, sitting at Ethan's party, smiling, cheering, laughing like everything was perfect, and Jessica's quiet little voice asking, "Why not me?" just replayed in my head. Friday morning, I'm working from home when my phone lights up with a call from Dad. Then, another. Then a string of texts. Answer your phone. We need to talk. This isn't funny. Alex. Still nothing from me. That afternoon, Brooke showed up at my house just like that. No warning, no text. She stood on my porch with a Tupperware container, and that awkward, guilty look she always gets when she knows she's in deep, but still doesn't think she did anything wrong. I didn't answer the door. She knocked 4 times. Waited. Knocked again. Jessica peeked out the window and said, "Is that Aunt Brooke?" I told her not to worry and turned the TV on for her. Then I just stood in the hallway and listened as Brooke knocked again, shifting her weight, probably rehearsing whatever excuse she came up with in the car. Eventually, she gave up, left the cookies on the step and drove off. I opened the container after she left. Store-bought oatmeal raisin, not even chocolate chip. They still didn't get it. They thought this was about hurt feelings, or some childish payback. But this wasn't revenge. This was clarity. I'd been useful for so long, they forgot I had the option to walk away, and now they were starting to feel it. The cracks were showing, and I was just getting started. By the following week, it wasn't just cracks. They were bleeding out. Monday morning started with 3 voicemails from Dad, none of which I listened to. Then came the group chat explosion. Brooke finally snapped. She sent a 5-paragraph essay about how I was endangering the family, how I never communicated like an adult, and how she was this close to losing her car. Then she dropped the line that made me laugh out loud. "You're punishing everyone for something that had nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with me, right? I guess being the one who bailed them out for half a decade doesn't count as something? I guess Jessica not getting a party because they couldn't afford it, while Ethan rode a live pony in their backyard didn't count either. But it got better. Mom finally called me at work. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail I did listen to this time. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Like she was trying not to scream. "We're really struggling now, Alex. I need you to be reasonable. The house is going to go into default if you don't help. This isn't just about you anymore. Don't be spiteful." Spiteful. I had to stop myself from calling back and saying what I really thought. That they had no problem watching my daughter blow out a candle on a cupcake from a gas station while their favorite grandson got a full party with a magician. That they expected me to smile and keep paying for it all, like the silent investor of some twisted family hierarchy. But I didn't call. I did something better. I pulled the plug on the internet bill. They didn't know I'd been covering that, too. Ever since Dad forgot to pay it last year, and their connection got cut for a week. I stepped in and paid it directly. No thanks, no acknowledgement, just more silence until they needed something again. So I ended that too. Thursday, Brooke texted, "Wi-Fi's down. Can you check with Spectrum?" I almost replied, "Why don't you ask the magician?" But I didn't. Just let the silence speak. By Friday night, the mortgage company called me. The bank had me listed as a secondary contact. The voice on the other end was polite, but firm. Missed payment. Late fees. One more month like this, and they'd start the early foreclosure process. I thanked her and hung up. Didn't tell them. That weekend, I took Jessica to a little theme park 2 hours away. Just us. We ate funnel cakes. She went on every ride, twice. And we stayed in a hotel where she got to jump on the bed without anyone telling her to stop. While she slept, I looked through my phone again. Dad had sent another message. Enough is enough. You made your point. We're still your parents. Still your parents? I stared at that line longer than I should have. Thought about all the times I'd shown up. All the times they didn't. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. They had played favorites. They had drawn their lines. Now they were learning what life looked like without my silence. And they weren't handling it well. By the start of the next month, things started moving faster and uglier. Brooke's car got repossessed. I found out through her Instagram story. Of all places, she must have forgotten who could still see it. It was a shaky, half-crying video of her filming a tow truck in her driveway while screaming something about mistakes and miscommunication. In the background, her husband Jake yelled at the driver. I saved the video just in case. Later that day, she texted me. "Did you cancel the lease without telling me? What the hell is wrong with you?" I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a group chat with just me and my wife Sarah and typed, "They've officially lost the car." One down. Sarah responded with a single word. Good. She hadn't said much during all of this, but I could tell something had hardened in her. She was over the excuses, the manipulations, the way they treated me like an afterthought. And then came the water damage. Mom called at 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. I let it go to voicemail. She left 3. Apparently, their water heater blew, flooded half the basement, and Dad was convinced it was because I stopped paying for their home warranty, which, to be fair, I had last month. Quietly. It was over $100 a month for a plan they never used until now. I got a message from Dad that same afternoon. "The basement's a mess. The heater's toast. You happy now?" What caught me off guard, though, was what he sent after. A photo of Jessica. Not from that day or anything recent. An old one. A few years ago. Her sitting on his lap, smiling, holding a stuffed bear. The message just said, "She still loves her grandparents. Does she know what you're doing?" That was unexpected. I stared at that picture a long time. I won't lie. It made me pause. But not in the way he probably hoped. It just reminded me how fake the whole thing had been. The performances, the affection when it was convenient, when it looked good in pictures. Sarah saw the photo later that night. She just said, "There's nothing to forgive. You know that, right?" But I wasn't so sure. That weekend, I took Jessica out to get new shoes for school. We were at the mall. She was trying on glittery sneakers, and I left her for 5 minutes to grab her a pretzel. When I came back, she was standing awkwardly, holding the shoebox, and Brooke was sitting across from her, kneeling down and talking to her quietly. I stopped in my tracks. She looked up, startled to see me, said nothing, just stood, then walked away without a word. Jessica looked confused. Why did Aunt Brooke say you're mad because of money? That was the moment I realized how far they were willing to go. I walked Jessica to the car, and I made a decision. When we got home, I changed the code on the smart lock at our front door. A small thing, but it mattered, because the next morning, they showed up. Mom, Dad, Brooke. They rang the bell, knocked, called, pounded the door. I watched them on the camera, all standing there like some sad little intervention team. I didn't open. Sarah stood beside me, arms crossed. "You're not actually considering it, are you?" I wasn't. Not anymore. They had turned my daughter into a pawn. They had guilt-tripped me, lied to me, used me. This wasn't a feud. It was a clean break in progress, and they didn't even realize it yet. It happened on a Sunday night. The kind of evening that makes you think everything's going to be okay. The 3 of us had spent the day down at the coast. No phonies, no texts, Just sunshine, greasy boardwalk food, and Jessica laughing so hard she got the hiccups. It almost made me forget how far things had gone. Almost. We pulled into the driveway just before sunset. The light was golden, peaceful, until Sarah said, "Wait." I looked up. Glass. The rear window of my truck had been completely blown out. Glittering shards scattered across the driveway, like someone had thrown a brick through it. But that wasn't even the worst part. The passenger side had deep gouges across the paint. 5 long, deliberate slashes, from front to back. Someone took their time. Sarah gasped. I didn't. I knew exactly what this was. I didn't even bother to speak. I walked around to the front door, unlocked it, and went straight to the tablet that controls our home security. Brought up the footage. There they were. 3 figures. 2:47 a.m. 2 hooded. 1 with a baseball cap. They crept around the side of the house. The tall one smashed the window. Another circled the car, dragging something sharp across the paint. They barely flinched when the porch light flicked on from the motion sensor. At one point, the shortest one looked straight at the camera. Not directly, but just enough for me to know. The slouch, the walk, the hesitation. I'd known that posture since I was 10. It was my dad. And the tall one? Jake, Brooke's husband, which meant the third had to be Brooke. They did this. They actually did this. Sarah stood behind me, arms crossed, quiet. Then she said what I was already thinking. You need to report it. And I almost did. I really did. I even opened the police department's non-emergency form on my laptop, filled out half of it. Then I stopped. Not because I doubted who it was. Not because I was scared. Because I didn't want Jessica to ever look at her grandparents and know they got arrested for trashing her dad's truck over a birthday party. She still loved them, even after everything. And for some reason, I still didn't want to take that from her. But Sarah wasn't on the same page. She stood there staring at me like she didn't recognize the man who wasn't calling the cops. Are you serious? They vandalized our property. What if Jessica had been in the car? What if they come back? She had a point, but I'd reached a different kind of clarity. One I couldn't explain, not even to her. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need them in handcuffs. I just needed them gone. The next morning, I got up early. Before work, I filed for a full lock change. I had the smart locks rekeyed and had the security system synced to notify me instantly if any of their devices got near the property. Then I did the thing I should have done months ago. I removed them all from every part of our lives. Phone numbers blocked. Emails filtered straight to trash. Socials gone. Emergency contacts at Jessica's school replaced with Sarah's sister and her husband. The shared Google Drive, where I'd kept scanned copies of their bills, deleted. Brooke tried texting from a different number 2 days later. Something passive-aggressive. Something about, you can't just erase people like that. I didn't reply. She was wrong. You can erase people. When they pick your silence over your child's happiness, when they destroy your trust, your property, your peace, you're not obligated to carry them anymore. I didn't want revenge, but I wasn't interested in reconciliation either. They'd gone too far, and I was done being the person who forgives people just because they share blood. It's been 3 months since I last spoke to any of them. Not a call, not a text, not even a fake happy birthday comment on Jessica's page. Nothing, just dead air. And it's the most peace I've felt in years. For a while, I kept waiting for one of them to show up. Not to apologize. They don't do that. But to try and force their way back in, with some half-baked excuse. Maybe a guilt trip dinner invite. But they didn't. Not until last week. It was a Thursday. Raine. Jessica was at school. Sarah was working from the dining room. I was upstairs fixing a leaking shower valve when the doorbell rang. Then again, and again. Sarah opened the camera app. Her voice from downstairs was flat. They're here. I didn't have to ask who. I came down slowly. There they were. All 3. My mother soaked in a raincoat. My father standing like a statue next to her, and Brooke, arms crossed, like she was the one who had been wronged. They stood at my door trying to act like nothing happened. Like they hadn't lied to me, used me, trashed my truck, guilted my daughter. Like this was some sitcom where everything resets after a few episodes. I didn't open the door. I watched them through the glass for a while. My dad said something. Brooke knocked again. My mom was holding something. It looked like a photo album, probably full of pictures meant to make me feel nostalgic, like we were a family. Sarah stood behind me. You let them in. I'm leaving. She meant it. And honestly, I didn't even consider it. I walked to the intercom and pressed the speaker button. I kept my voice calm. We're not doing this. Whatever you're here for, it's not welcome. My mother started crying, or at least pretending to. I couldn't tell anymore. My dad didn't say a word. Brooke tried to yell something through the door, but I pressed the button again. No more. Go home. Then I walked away. I didn't wait for them to leave. Didn't watch them drive off. I just went back upstairs, finished fixing the leak, and scheduled a locksmith to install a physical lock on top of the smart one just in case. Later that night, I sat with Jessica in her room while she showed me the drawing she made of our family. Me, Sarah, here, and our dog. No grandparents, no aunt, just us. She didn't even ask about them. That was the moment I knew they were gone. Not because I hate them, not because I want revenge, because peace isn't something you negotiate. It's something you protect. They thought blood was enough, that I'd cave like always, that they could break things and I'd clean it up, but not this time. I didn't lock the door out of anger. I locked it because they don't live here anymore. The update. Jessica turned 8 last weekend. We kept it small, not because we had to, but because we wanted to. Just her 3 closest friends. A decorate-your-own cupcake station and a shark piñata that took 5 kids and 10 minutes to break. She was glowing the entire time. She opened her gifts one by one, said thank you after each, then looked at me and said, "This is perfect." And it was. No drama, no fake smiles, no forced family photos. Just laughter echoing through the house that finally felt like ours again. What struck me most wasn't what happened. It was what didn't. No accidental delivery from my parents. No drunk text from Brooke. No birthday card signed, love, grandma, and grandpa to stir the pot. Nothing. For the first time in a long time, I didn't spend the day bracing for a moment to go sour. I didn't look at every unknown number like it was a warning. I didn't feel obligated to explain or defend anything. We were just living. Later that night, after the kids were asleep and the house was quiet again, Sarah handed me a slice of cake and said, "Do you think they've finally given up?" I said, "I think they finally realized the door isn't opening again." And I meant it. I used to think going no contact would feel dramatic, like I'd be haunted by second guesses or weighed down by guilt. But the truth is, it feels like someone turned off the noise. The guilt isn't there anymore. Because when I look at my daughter, I don't see a child missing a family. I see a girl surrounded by people who show up every single day, no strings attached, and that's enough.